Joining me now is Dr. Bashima Williams. Let's talk about the government school lunch program. What is our educational system doing to America's young kids every day at lunchtime? What are they feeding them? Is it contributing to our national health crisis, obesity, diabetes, these things? Because this concerns all of us when it comes to our health care, but also our future as a nation, as a people. So many young people today can't even qualify for the military that want to join the military because they're so physically out of shape and obese. So this is also a national security issue, not to mention the issue of work and productivity and people that can be in the workforce and be healthy, productive workers, entrepreneurs, employees, business owners, right? Joining me now again is Dr. Bashima Williams. This is a great topic because, one has to ask, is it almost done on purpose to give Big Pharma more patients?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And by the way, Brandon, thank you so much for having me here today. And I love sharing all things medical related on your platform.
Thank you.
So I appreciate it and appreciate just the opportunity to help all of your listeners and everyone out there. And this topic, I wanted to talk to you about it today because I actually had a patient who's amazing mom, amazing dad, and they're really picky about what they feed their boys at home. And then finally, one of their kids goes off to school and starts eating all this Frankenfood, she calls it, and which is true. It's all highly processed, high in sugar, low in fiber, low in good protein, low in fresh food, low in vegetables and fruit and things like that, and very high in processed foods and sugars, which then puts our kids in a sort of a little mental coma in the afternoons, which now education is really compromised. We're really affecting our children more than we know. It is not innocent. It is not just food. You guys, food is medicine. And why are we poisoning our children at school? So this mom came to me and she now has a second child in school, and now she's going to the school board because she wants to impact her school and impact what they're feeding their kids. And this is a perfect time with RFK being in the office that he holds in terms of being highly influential and being pro health and wellness. We cannot sustain our children eating this food any longer. We are going to have a medical problem that is far beyond our wildest dreams. And we may actually start to see children dying before their parents.
Children dying before their parents. So clearly it's done on purpose. I mean, we've had, a long time to develop healthy lunches, right? I mean, wasn't it Nancy Reagan that was all into not only just say no, but also health and bringing in Arnold Schwarzenegger and different athletes in America and people getting healthy and fit? I don't know if you remember that during the Reagan years. I think I do. I mean, so we've had a long time to talk about this in schools. So one has to ask, is it done on purpose? And if so, is that so it creates more customers for the medical establishment? Big Pharma?
A lot has changed since Ronald Reagan was in office, unfortunately, to the quality of the food supply, to the nutrients that are in the ground, which is what the plant eats and absorbs through the roots and puts into the plant, which is what we're eating. A lot has happened to our food supply, and a lot has happened to our school lunches. I mean, I remember when I was in school, and that's when Ronald Reagan was in office. I was in 5th grade when he got shot. And I remember our school lunches were a lot healthier. At least we had some fresh fruit and some fresh vegetables to choose from. When my kids went to school, which is in the early 2000s, I was so appalled with what they were eating. It was broccoli that was soaked in butter or cheese all over it, and just all this processed foods and no healthy proteins that my kids would eat anyway, nothing that looked like their normal foods. And, I don't consider hot dogs sort of a nutritious protein source in my opinion. So anyway, we ended up having to pack their lunches every single day. But interestingly, what I used to pack in their lunches, now they're in their 20s, is actually what they're eating still, like vegetables with hummus is a normal snack for my kids to have. In reflection, what we're feeding our children when they're in their 20s and can make their own selections is what they'll be eating based on sort of the habits they learn when they're younger. This is an opportunity, a huge opportunity for us parents to really get involved with the school board and to really get involved in our own home and start making changes. And I think it starts first with the parents and learning basic skills like how to read food labels. That's something that's really important, for example.
So, do we have any federal legislation that mandates the food in our schools? Or, I mean, government wants to mandate, control anything and everything. Is there not any federal legislation that says, look, you can't be feeding these kids these things, or it has to be balanced with this kind of diet? Or is it just made up to, I mean, each school district gets to decide, or what? How does that work?
I think it all comes down to not just you have to offer a protein, for example, but it's the quality of the protein, it's how the protein was cooked, and what the protein then is served with. And so there isn't great guidelines. So the difference is going to a place like McDonald's versus going to a place that actually serves whole, healthy food. There's a huge difference between the two. They're both serving macronutrients, some proteins, some carbs, and some fats, but there's a huge difference in how it affects our bodies. And so what I'm talking about is actually affecting the quality of our food and the options that we're choosing to give our children. For example, instead of having a soda machine, which is not uncommon in cafeterias anymore, and instead of having vending machines that has junk in it, which is not uncommon in our schools anymore, we should be offering whole foods like milk and water and things like that are, and that's just the drinks that are affected. I'll tell you, when my kids went to school, we always started with, what vegetables do you want? What protein do you guys want? And they would help make their lunches a lot of times. And then we would add a sort of some kind of fruit in there. Sometimes I would add a little, healthy version of a cookie, maybe something I made or something like that. They had a water bottle that fit perfectly in their lunch box so that they could drink water with their lunch. But we hardly ever ate school lunches. I remember at the school we went to, which was a private Christian school until 8th grade, they would have pizzas on Fridays on a regular basis. And that's, I mean, there's so many things wrong with that I don't think we have enough time to talk about all that, but anyway.
Well, I do have to remember, I do remember that school cafeteria pizza, and I don't know how I would feel about it today, but I know as a kid, we all got pretty excited when it was pizza, because I don't know what they did to it. I don't know what they were lacing it with, but it was addictive. And I can never find pizza that tastes quite like that anymore. I don't know, what were they doing to it? Do you know?
I think it was just highly processed cheese and really simple dough and sauce. And to be honest with you, your taste buds have changed. So even if you were to find that same exact pizza, it would taste totally different to you.
Wow.
Anyway,
why is that? Why are our taste buds change?
Our taste buds evolve as we expose our taste buds to different things, different foods. Our taste buds evolve to enjoy and like them. For example, my kids hated tomatoes. And I really believed in feeding them the rainbow of colors every day. So we were really intentional about that, offering 3 vegetables with dinner, things like that. And one of the vegetables we would offer frequently is tomatoes. Well, they didn't like them. Once they got to be about 10, I'm like, you know what? Just take this cherry tomato and swallow it. You don't even have to chew it, because it's the texture and it's the but after about 2 weeks, they were able to chew it. And they're like, you know what? These aren't too bad, but they are bad. They're disgusting to a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
But as kids evolve and grow older, they need to be exposed to these new flavors and new tastes, and then our taste buds will evolve. It's the same exact thing with, even on a day-to-day basis. If you eat junk all day, then you're not going to crave a salad. But if you're a healthy eater, you can't wait to get to your salad. And that has to do a lot with taste buds, blood sugars, hormones, and more complex issues like
Absolutely.
that.
100% agree with that, because there are a lot of foods I eat today that I wouldn't have eaten even a few years ago.
Yeah.
And now, I've always loved tomatoes. I loved tomatoes as a kid. And I loved vegetables, certain vegetables as a kid. I've always loved butter beans. I've always loved cream corn, but I grew up eating these things, down here in the South. And so I love those things, and I still do to this day. But I am eating more healthier in the last couple of years, and I crave those things. I've said to my wife, you can make vegetable pie every night. It's like, you don't want to eat vegetable pie every night. I'm like, why not? I could have a salad, vegetable pie, and then maybe, I have a steak once a week, or I have, some kind of, salmon. But I said, I like the vegetable pie. There are vegetables and things that I would not really want a heavy diet of, that like broccoli. I've never really cared for broccoli, but now I can't get enough broccoli. I just can't. I love broccoli. And I'm like, you don't even have to cook it. I used to have it cooked, but I'm like, that takes a lot of the nutrients out, I know. But now she's making a broccoli salad that's not cooked. It's a broccoli salad, and she's mixing in all these other things with it that are, I'm just like, I eat it as a snack, right? I would have never thought I'd do that a couple years ago. So now I know why. As I'm eating more and more healthy, my taste buds are craving it. And I don't eat the junk food. I haven't eaten Doritos probably now in 2 or 3 years. I don't even have a craving for it, where I used to just chocolate. Occasionally I'll have a piece of dark chocolate, but I don't crave chocolate or junk food like I used to do. I really don't. I think some of it also has to do with not only changing my diet, but my Gatatana that I take, that phytoplankton, takes away my desire for any of those munchy stuff. So we don't keep around junk food anymore in the last few years. And I don't crave it, and I don't miss it. And when somebody brings it around me, I have no desire to have it. So I didn't know why, but now maybe you explain to me. The taste buds are evolving.
Your taste buds have evolved, and your desire for healthy foods has evolved. And this is why it's so critical to affect our younger kids, because we are creating when they get to choose their own food, when they're 16 and they get a car, they're going to be hitting the fast food places like you would never believe.
Oh yeah, they are.
So our golden opportunity to affect them is before the age of 10. And one trick that I use with my parents a lot is, the ones that tell me my kids won't eat any vegetables. I'm like, make it a choice, make it a game. Have them have 4 or 5 vegetables on the table, and start playing around with what textures and what flavors and how you can make it so that they would love it. One of my favorite ways to make broccoli, for example, is just to simply steam it with some water. I don't ever cook with oil. If I can prevent it, I will bake with oil, but I don't cook on a stovetop with oil because it burns the oil and makes it rancid. Rancid oil is bad and inflammatory for your body. So I just boil the broccoli. Actually, I steam it with just a little tiny bit of water, steam it, drain the water after it's just barely changed color, still a little crunchy, but not wilted, because you're right. Cooking it definitely takes out some of the nutrients, but like I tell all my patients, I would rather you eat a wilted piece of broccoli than, something that's processed, right?
Right, exactly.
It has some nutrients in it. I take it off the stovetop with the water drained, and now I have my cooked broccoli. I'll sprinkle a little olive oil on it, because eating your vegetables with a little bit of oil is actually really good.
It's really what? I'm sorry, I missed that last part.
Sorry, it's really important because it helps you with absorption of your fat soluble vitamins that are in those plants that you're eating, like vitamin D and vitamin A and K. And, so you really want to add a little bit of olive oil, or maybe avocado oil, one of those monounsaturated oils, and then a little salt and pepper, and then squeeze a little lemon juice on top. And you can make every single vegetable that you can cook on a stovetop in that way. We love cauliflower that way, asparagus that way. I'll even make some spinach that way. So it's a really easy way to make a lot of vegetables that kids will like. Sometimes it's just a matter of changing up a couple little things and your kids will like it. And it's also a matter of just telling them just to eat one broccoli sprout. I remember my kids eating broccoli at age, 15, 18 months, and, just the soft top part. So we called it a tree. This is your little tree. You make it a game. You make it fun so that they can actually, when they're little, start eating it, so that when they're 4, they're not fighting you.
Good idea.
If you give them chicken nuggets at age 2, do you really think they're going to eat broccoli at age 4?
No, No, absolutely not. All right, listen to RFK Jr. on this. Here we go.
Already in the middle of completing the dietary guidelines. We're reducing the dietary guidelines from a 453-page document that we inherited from the Biden administration that was driven by the same industry impulses that put Fruit Loops at the top of the food pyramid. We're going to deliver instead a 4 or 5-page document that tells people how to give healthy food to their children. Those dietary guidelines will then drive changes in the school lunch programs all over this country. We are writing SNAP waivers every day to the states that are applying for them so that sodas and candies are no longer available using food stamps. Taxpayers should not be paying for food-like substances that are chemically based that are poisoning our population.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, very good. All right, let's switch real quick. What are some solutions before we go that we have that maybe they can get at myvitamin.com/worldview?
Yeah, Brandon, one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about this is because we are seeing a significant increase in earlier onset of type 2 diabetes. We are seeing an increase in children having something that we never saw when I was in medical school, which is fatty liver disease. We are seeing a record number of children on ADD medications who are hyperactive, who are tired. We are seeing an obesity epidemic in children like we have never seen before. When you and I played around outside with all of our friends, we were pretty much all thin and running around and super active. But what we're seeing now is that 1 in 5 children is suffering from obesity already in their life. This is even before having, full puberty and, periods and all these other hormones that then start playing a bigger factor later on in life. And 70% of our food in our schools are ultra processed in many cases. And these are things that just cannot be acceptable. And then not only that, but not to mention all the hidden dyes and additives and all this other stuff that's affecting our neurological system. We need to start eating whole foods again. And I'll tell you what, one of my favorite things, and this is what I do for myself, and my kids actually love it. My kids are older now. They're home for summer, but they love making this. This is our protein powder. This is a great protein powder. Whey is a great precursor to making glutathione, which is so important for our antioxidant. Super clean product. They use cows from New Zealand and this is all A2 milk, very highly tolerable. And what I do, I take 1 or 2 scoops of this and I put a cucumber, half a cucumber, half an apple, half a frozen banana, a handful of spinach, 7 or 8 almonds, some water, because I'm not going to use processed almond milk, right? And so I'll just make my own almond flavored water and add all that stuff to it. A little bit of ice, maybe a little bit of those cocoa nibs, which are by the sugar-free kind. Mix all that up. I might even add a little ginger and a little lemon because it's great for your gut health. Mix it all up. Put it in a Yeti cup. You can have it like 2 hours later if you're not hungry right away for breakfast, or if you like to eat your breakfast or drink your breakfast, in this case, after you work out. So this protein powder, totally amazing flavor because you really can't taste it. And so what you're really tasting is all the other stuff all mixed together. And believe it or not, half a banana and half an apple. And you can also do, instead of the banana, you can do half or a fourth of a cup of berries. It's actually delicious and it's kind of sweet. And of course, this is with people who don't generally eat a lot of sugar. Now, if you eat a lot of sugar and your taste buds are off, then this might not taste good to you. But if you're moving towards and trying to be a healthy eater, this is a great meal replacement.
And again, that's available at myvitamin.com/worldview, myvitamin.com/worldview. And get your packets, folks. Get your packets, okay? Get your packets for your daily vitamins. Closing comment?
If I can just say one more thing.
Yep.
One of our best sellers is the teen packs that we sell. Just some micronutrients that we have seen over and over and over again in our own patients that our teens are deficient in. And one of the best things you can do for your teen is help them get the good amount of omega-3, because we are grossly deficient in that. I just had a micronutrient lab set from a 12-year-old this week who I reviewed, and significantly high omega-6 fats and low omega-3. That sets you up for a lot of systemic inflammation, your brain not working like it's supposed to, a lot of impulsiveness. So that teen pack has all that stuff in it. So omegas, and another thing you can do for your kiddo is get them on a regular sleep-wake cycle so that their brain works good in the morning. And that magnesium is really good for helping our kiddos go to sleep. So great pack, the teen pack, teen and college pack. I would say anyone above the age of 12 or 13 can start taking that. A lot of times when you start investing in your health, especially as a kid, you realize the importance of it, and you really do start paying more attention to it, and not just with the supplements that you're eating, but also with what foods you're putting into your body, how much you're exercising. All sorts of good things come out from doing little things well.
Excellent. myvitamin.com/worldview, myvitamin.com/worldview. And by the way, we have a health channel that's running 24/7, and Dr. Bashima Williams is featured on it a lot. So if you're like, I love all these health discussions, well, go to worldviewtube.com. You'll see our main 24/7 live player. And then right below it is the health channel running 24/7 now, with great interviews with great guests, experts, doctors, and functional medicine doctor like Dr. Bashima is running it on that health channel 24/7. So you're broadcasting a lot. You just don't know it, but you're on the health channel we've now launched.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you for being with us.
Thanks so much, Brandon.
Check it out, folks. myvitamin.com/worldview. Again, myvitamin.com/worldview. All right, folks, before we continue tonight, be sure to go to worldviewtalk.com. Worldviewtalk.com. They got some major specials over there. Remember, they're running a big special on Starlink. Now, don't be so upset with Elon today that you do away with a great product. It'll all work out. This is a product I have. I have the portable Starlink. Now, you don't have to have a portable one. You can get one you put on the side of your house, and you can get it for free through worldviewtalk.com with 500 gigabyte high-speed internet plan. $165 a month, but you get the Starlink for free, like a $625 savings. Now, if you want the portable one, that's awesome, because then you can take it with you when you travel. If you have an RV, if you have some of you have a lake house, a cabin, a cabin you go to in northern Michigan or Minnesota or Wisconsin. Maybe some of you in Arizona go up to the hills, and you're like, I get this cabin, or some of you guys have inherited those from your parents, your grandparents. But I don't want to buy internet. You don't have to. You take the portable Starlink with you and use it. Okay. So whether you do that for your main residence or you're camping, maybe you camp. Maybe you go camping. You pitch a tent, go camping, but you want to stay connected. Maybe you're one of the guys in the duck blinds. Dolly, you like the idea of a duck blind. You're a bird dog. You come from a long line of bird hunting, but I don't think you'd be very good at bird hunting. Nothing personal. You're better at a studio dog. Does not like a lot of loud noises. So I don't know how you would do. You know that when you were a puppy, you can come back to me for a moment. When you were a puppy, hey, Dolly, don't run off. I was going to tell you a story. Do you know when you were a puppy, you were the last dog the breeder had? I bought your sister from there too. Did you know that when you were a puppy, they normally had a cannon? They had a cannon on the property that would go off every few minutes just to get you used to the idea of loud noises. And apparently when this man bought his property and started breeding your relatives, nobody cared because he was out in the middle of nowhere in Somerville, Tennessee. Well, then there started becoming a population around that farm of his where he was raising you guys. And they got to complaining about this cannon that would go off every few minutes. And the cannon was so that when you were born and you were just a couple days old, you were still hearing that cannon. And you became so used to that loud noise that you didn't care about loud noises. And that's why your sister, God rest her soul, Dolly, or Delta, she didn't care about fireworks or any loud noises. Didn't care because she had been conditioned with a big loud cannon. Well, guess what happened? people started complaining they took the Canon away. And then guess who was born? You. So you were not born listening every day to a big, loud Canon. And so now you're scared of loud noises. So if someone lets off a firecracker or car backfires, you freak out, don't you? So you're not a good hunting dog, but you're a good studio dog. Yep, you're a good studio dog. How did we get off on that? Oh, for those of you that might go hunting, that's how we did it. For those of you that might go hunting, take the Starlink with you. Take the Starlink with you, and you could portable Starlink and still do high speed and hook your iPad and watch the ball game. Yeah, watch the ball game while you duck hunt from the duck blind. There's all kinds of great uses for the Starlink, all available at worldviewtalk.com, along with the EMF beanies, the solar generators. I have the Delta Echo 400, the backpack that's bulletproof, the Bivy where you can text using your cell phone or go through a satellite, even if the cell towers are down. Lots of great stuff there at worldviewtalk.com.